5 minutes left. All righty. Staff ready? Very good. All right, we'll now call the January 27th regular city council meeting to order. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. The invocation was given by Deputy Mayor Jim Bernard. We ask you to guide us, give wisdom, give us reading, to do best reading for the citizens of Avon Park, as well as try to do. We ask you to keep us all safe, but our children, first responders, all those who are here and taught.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May be seated. Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Yes, sir. Councilmember McGuire. Here. Councilmember McCure. Here. Councilmember Taylor. Here. Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. First up, we have a proclamation from Miss Clara Tolliver Boone. All right. Whereas Miss Boone was born in 1932, and whereas upon graduating from Middleton High in Tampa, Florida, Miss Boone attended Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, FAMU, in Tallahassee, Florida, where she played basketball alongside athletic great Althea Gibson. And whereas Miss Boone's transferred to rival Bethune-Cookman College in Daytona, Florida, where she earned a BS in education. And whereas Miss Boone began her professional career in Avon Park, Florida at Hopewell Elementary and served at Avon Park Middle School from 1956 to 1989. And whereas Miss Boone received the following awards throughout her lifetime: NAACP Outstanding Dedication from Men of Vision Award, January 20th, 1997. NAACP Pillar Award, September the 8th, 2007. FCAA Outstanding Program Volunteer, January 26, 2007. Certificate of Appreciation from the RCMA, May the 10th, 2012. United Once Again Teacher Appreciation on December 27th, 2013. NAACP Appreciation Award 2014. NAACP Dream Award, January 19th, 2015. NAACP Silver Life Membership, December 2017. Hidden Figures of Highlands County Academic Leadership Award, February 25th, 2017. And whereas Miss Boone, after retiring from teaching in 1989, continued serving in the teaching capacity from 1989 to 2015 for free. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the mayor and council members honor Miss Clara Tolliver Boone's extraordinary lifetime achievements and her longstanding dedication and service to the citizens of the city of Avon Park, Florida. Thank you, Miss Boone. We will have a printed and signed copy of that for you.
I'd also like to tell Miss Boone happy birthday also. Her birthday is March 1st.
Happy birthday.
Ernest E. Center Street, Avon Park, Florida. One thing that wasn't mentioned that I wanted everybody to know, that my mom was teacher of the year for Highlands County. In 1972, my mother won Outstanding Elementary Teacher of America.
Wow.
I'd like to thank everybody from Avon Park that you guys thought it was to do this for her. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And I would like to say, I would like to thank you all to let you know all that I have done. It wasn't me. God worked through me. I
Amen.
was not able to do anything. And what I did, I love doing it. I love doing it. Whatever I can do, I didn't mind doing it. Because if I can help somebody, then my living will not be in vain. Yes. And thank you very much. And I really appreciate it. And I really thank all of you all that came out to witness this.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
I love you.
All right. In the same vein, our next item is employee longevity recognition. Ms. Coger, do you want to go through these or would you like me to?
Yes, please. So the city feels it's very important to start a recognition program where we acknowledge our long-term and our short-term employees who go above and beyond all the time for the good of the city. And so the second of each month, the second council meeting, we want to do that. So tonight, if you're here, I would ask that you just stand up when I call your name. Those who have been with us a year, we have Brett Bennett. He's a public work mechanic. He's in the back there. We have Jason Atkinson. Many of you know he's a public works director. We have Lieutenant Alan Gibbons in our fire department. He's been here 20 years. Eddie Hips, a solid waste driver, has been here 21 years. Jonathan Pravat, firefighter, he's been here 21 years as well. Michael Turek, a firefighter, been here 21 years. Lieutenant Jason Simmons has been here 26 years. We have Charles Strickland, who oversees our parks and sports facilities. He's been here 30 years. He's in the back. And Michael Wilbanks, one of our meter readers, has been here 38 years. And I don't know if you know that. So we just want to thank all of you for your service to the city.
Thank you very much. We've got a lot of long timers here. We really appreciate their service, really appreciate the dedication to the city of Avon Park. We couldn't do it without you guys. Just thank you so much. All right, up next is the consent agenda. Is there anything from items 7, 8, 9, or 10 council would like to remove to discuss separately? Seeing none, is there anyone willing to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire? Yes. Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you very much. Item number 11, this would be ordinance number 01-2025.
An ordinance providing for a program of regulation of city rights of way in the city of Avon Park, providing for prohibitions and limitations, providing for franchises, providing for permitting work in the rights of way, providing for fees, providing for ensuring indemnity of the city and insurance requirements, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. First reading.
Ms. Kelly, I see your name there. Will you be?
Yes, so we do not have a standardized way to regulate our right of way. And this is an ordinance that would define an application process, any fees associated with it. And it also identifies penalties for violating this ordinance.
Okay. Any questions on this ordinance 01-2025?
I just have a couple. One question under 86-81, the commercial use of the sidewalks. It lists specifically that it's unlawful except for 2 days in the spring and 2 days in the late summer. Was that for a reason or?
It's just a limitation that it's fairly common to have a limitation on that use of the sidewalk in that manner.
I guess my thing was why the 2 days in the spring and why the 2 days in the late summer? I mean, unless we wanted it to coincide with something that we were actually doing. We just picked it.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe we could just scratch that part out and just say, unless city council approves a special permit for a citywide sidewalk promotion.
Okay.
That's just my suggestion. And
Yeah.
then also it has specifically for 2 days, but maybe we shouldn't limit the time constraints. We should just provide it based on city council approval because we may have a 1-day event versus a 2-day versus a 3-day.
Sure.
So we do have an events ordinance application that'll be coming forward at your next city council meeting. We could wrap this into like a special event request and take it out of here if you think that's more appropriate.
I'm not sure it wouldn't be more appropriate in this one as opposed to that particular special event one, because that's going to be for things that are much larger. And I'm not sure it's going to come up a lot because we don't have the right to tell anybody they can use most of our sidewalks anyway, because they're DOT rights away. And so only they can allow it to happen. I had to go through the process during COVID of seeing if our restaurants could use the sidewalks since they couldn't, use the inside often. So I found that out in that situation, but nevertheless, it's in here, and I think it's it's up to you all. I mean, if you'd like to make that change. When I put these together with the city manager, we just sort of guessing as to what we think the council would like. So
I do want to add that we are in the process of taking over Main Street. It might be a year or two from FDOT, so it's not always going to be there right away.
okay.
And then, sorry, Bruce. How far out from the storefront does the shop owner usually own? I mean, do they have any property like 3 feet or anything with the doorway, or is it immediately FDOT?
Yeah, it's typically public right of way, the sidewalk. They don't typically own it. It's for public use.
Yeah, most of the C4 downtown is built lot line to lot line. So
Yeah, it's
the building-
almost right to the building. When I looked at when I was talking to DOT, and I was considering the pizza restaurant, the Italian restaurant there along there, and it was almost to their door. At that point,
Right.
it's generally the sidewalk, but like if it's great if we can get it from DOT and be able to utilize it in a manner that's fair for the city. And not that they just had to go through a process which took like 3 weeks before they could approve that during COVID.
So would it be so strict as to even prevent them, say they're having a sale and putting a sign out, sale inside? Or if I've noticed a couple of the boutiques have put out like a sale rack. So it's right up against the building. It wouldn't be as intrusive as, say, a restaurant on the sidewalk, but it's just a rack.
Well, anything they do has to be ADA compliant anyway. But yeah, that's the problem that some restaurants run into is they don't have enough, including the ADA portion of the sidewalk, to do it anyway. But nonetheless, that's the sort of thing you want to prohibit except in special circumstances. Sort of like, huge obnoxious signs. You don't want them there all the time.
Right.
But when somebody needs to have a sale, you understand that for business, it's good. So, that you want business to thrive. So that's the reason that we do it, but we limit the amount of time. But I think, it'd be fine because you all can be the limit on that. But just bear in mind that if you're making the decisions as opposed to having it specific in the code, you have to be uniform as to how you apply it.
Right.
Because it can't be say, well, I like this business, but not that business. So,
So your original suggestion was to remove the 2-day provisions, is that right?
The 2 days and then the weird 2 days at spring and 2 days at late summer.
Okay.
I mean, I would be more inclined to say during the Christmas parade and the Blueberry Festival, those are the events that we usually bring a lot of
Well, we
folks
can always come
downtown.
back and define a schedule, at a later date. So
Or
we-
just make it a special
take it
event
out?
request. Yeah, just take out that whole portion. And then right underneath it, it just says the use of public streets and sidewalks within the CRA district may be used in conjunction with Main Street approved and sponsored promotional events. So we don't always sponsor them. We just approve them. So
Right.
should we just take out the word sponsored? So that we can simply approve them without sponsoring them.
Yeah, so if you're basing it just on the approved, then it would be for literally every event that we approve. Whereas sponsored, we sponsor a handful of events. So we have like the Christmas parade is sponsored. There's what, like 6 in total events that we do every year?
Yeah. I mean, I think you should apply it both ways because I mean, like you say, you approve some and you sponsor some, but either way, you need to make sure you control the manner in which it's done. If you on the under A there, if you want to state what sentence you want to take out so that the motion can include that sentence, then that would make it a lot easier for whoever makes the motion or make the motion to approve. Either way.
So to your point that you were making about the sponsored versus approved, what Jerry was saying is that it would be better to do what you had suggested. So
Yeah, I
If
agree
you-
with Brittany.
is anyone opposed to what's been talked about here?
Well, here's my question to Jerry. If DOC has the last say so, and I know we're writing an ordinance for the city of Avon Park, why are we limiting them to 2 days in the spring and 2 days in the summer? I mean, everybody don't always go out and put stuff on the sidewalk. I mean, the businesses that we have up there, most people are not putting things on the sidewalk anyway. If you have maybe a boutique that's selling some shoes or clothes, I can see where they'll probably put a rack of shoes or whatever, but why are we limiting them?
Well, you have to limit, otherwise they're going to be there all the time. And it looks aesthetically bad, but that's up to you. I mean, if you want to let that happen, that's up to you. That's generally why it's limited though. So
I'm sorry.
you have racks of clothes, racks of tires at a tire store, all kinds of, I mean, clearly some of it will be junk out in front on your sidewalk or next to the sidewalk. And that kind of junks up the city. So that's why we limit it. But as to why I recall the reason that spring and summer, when I do these, I usually pull 3 or 4 codes and this was in a code.
Yeah.
And it does seem a little silly. I mean, we probably should, just simply allow it whenever you guys approve it.
Right.
I think that makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
I see your point, but then can't have it all the time.
Well, I don't see them having it. Okay. I don't see them having it all the time, but you're telling them for the whole year, they can only put stuff out on the sidewalk.
Well,
4 times out of
well,
the year.
removing that provision was the whole point of this
I
conversation.
do it just for approval only, so once a month. So
In other words, the council is going to consider at a future meeting what if we want to expand it in a different way. But for now, we're removing the limitation so that the council can then come back and dictate a better schedule going forward.
Okay, I just simply say that I have another city that I represent where this really became a problem. And it was a place that sold, I guess you call it garage sale stuff. And it was pretty bold. Okay, let me put it that way. And so we drafted something similar to this just to stop that from happening. So that's why it's there, because it'll get pretty bad, I can tell you, if you just leave it open.
Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 01-2025 with a change removing the clause providing for 2 days in the spring and 2 days in the late summer and requiring it to just be a city council approval.
I'll be happy to second that.
Okay. Was there another change?
So Jerry, for the approved and sponsored promotional events, you want us to leave approved and sponsored, or you want us to take out the
It's up
sponsored?
to you. I mean, I just think that because you
Approved.
approved and
Just
sponsored,
approved? Okay.
I mean, it means that either type of event.
Okay. And then the second, I would like to remove the word sponsored and just base it on approved promotional events.
Jim, do you still wish to second that motion?
Yes, I would.
Okay. So we have a motion. We have a second. Questions? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes,
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item number 12, this will be ordinance 04-2025. Once again, Ms. Kelly.
Okay, this is an ordinance of the city of Avon Park, Florida, providing for a standard procedure for vacating rights of way and easements, providing for a petition to initiate city action, providing for required information and petition and payment of city costs with a deposit for city costs, providing for review by city attorney and other city staff, officials, and consultants, providing for notice to adjacent property owners, providing for an ordinance notice specific to the closing and other procedures, providing for ratification of all previous ordinances and resolutions, closing roads, alleys, and easements, providing for release of city rights to the road, alley, street, and easement, but disclaiming any assignment of such right to any specific person, but only according to law, providing for codification, repeal of conflicting ordinances and resolutions, but preserving and ratifying previous road, alley, and easement closing ordinances and resolutions, providing for severability, providing for scrivener's errors, and providing an effective date. That was a mouthful.
So once again, we do not have a standardized way that's codified for vacating right of way. And you'll see a theme here that we're requiring deposits of applicants so that citizens aren't paying for these special requests themselves through their property taxes. The deposits will go toward legal review, or if we need to hire a surveyor to verify what they're submitting to us. So it's just basically a way of codifying this and having a standardized way to vacate.
Okay. Any questions? I only have one question. Sure. Section 86-116 be item number 5, the last paragraph. So whenever you're actually closing it, you'll be posting a 3x3 sign. Do we need a 3-foot by 3-foot sign? That's just an oddball size. It's the only reason why.
I don't know. I can't buy, you can make it 2x2 if you want.
18 by 24, I think is pretty standard.
Yeah.
18 by 24.
Yeah. That's basically like a yard sign.
Yep. So I'll make the motion with that change. We'll get it in there.
Any other questions?
No.
Hey, does anyone care to make a motion with that change?
Because I'll make a motion, we approve items D 13.
12.
D 12. 04-2025 with the change of the sign from 18 by 24.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember McCure?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item number 13, this will be for RFQ 24-16. Jason?
Good evening, council, residents. So this is in front of you. We put out a RFQ for professional design services for the wastewater treatment plant to get our standards for our discharges of phosphorus and nitrogen. The levels have to be at a certain number, right? So 3 and 1. So when we looked at everything as far as what we need to do, we need to, by administrative order, we need to go out and do a design process. And part of the design process, once we get that set, then we can get the design and then go into to make the changes that we need to make with the station. But this is just following along with the administrative order that's required by DEP. In the bid that was put out, we only had one, the lowest and most responsive bidder, which was Kimley Horn, and they've done an excellent job with us so far, and they continue to do a good job. So I'm recommending that we approve to enter negotiation with them for the RFQ that they're selected for the design services for the wastewater treatment plant.
I have one question. That I wasn't aware that we had an administrative order against us.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a requirement. It's what came forward, I believe. 2 years ago, Kimley Horn came and they presented and showed that with the upgrades that we're required to do for the city. So, and in the upgrades, there's many different things that we had to do. And the administrative order was part of another packet that we had that was prior to this, that when we were speaking about the upgrades. But yes, we're in administrative order.
Was that just a letter order or was that a consent order?
I believe it's a letter.
Thank you.
We need to take positive steps towards fixing this and show good faith that we're moving along and we want to do this. So getting the design in place, it's a forgivable loan. So we were approved the loan total was 1.4 with 1.28 million being forgivable.
Any other questions? So we'll be looking for a motion to approve RFQ 24-16 to Kimley Horn and Associates.
So move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions.
I just have one question. It doesn't really, I mean, it has to do with it, but not really.
Mhm.
Whenever they open a bid, it says no attendees were physically present. One qualifications packet was received on time from Kimley Horn. Is that not a qualification that they have a representative available, whoever turns in an RFQ or RFP? Q? No, it's not a requirement?
Not typically, no.
No? Okay. Okay, that was just my question.
Anything else? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Item number 14, looking to auction the Avon Park Fire Department's old brush truck. Chief, we see your name there.
Yeah, so this truck has been at Public Works for a couple of years at this point, just trying to work through the process of getting rid of it, but it had numerous problems. That's why we replaced it. It still has those problems and we're just trying to get it off the property.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, Chief.
Yep.
Chief, does it run?
Yeah, it'll start and run. It doesn't currently run because the batteries are dead, but yeah, it'll start and run.
Okay, and my next question is, one of the first option is to try to sell it, right? If that doesn't happen, we put it out for auction.
Correct. We've reached out to a couple local municipalities to see if they wanted it and none of them responded that they wanted it. So this is the next step.
So my next step, and this question may have been asked to you before, I don't know. Here it goes. Do we ever try to do a trade-in? Can we ever do a trade-in? And when I mean, trade-in, just like you trade in a vehicle to a dealership, because he can get it and maybe sell it to a smaller city. Do we ever try that, or do they do that?
Yeah, I mean, it has been done before. We did not try it with this. It had steering problems. The steering is welded together. So this thing started to fail in 2019, 2020, 2021. We bought a new one in 2022. We could not get parts because of COVID stuff. So we welded the front end, the steering stuff together. Some of the stuff that shouldn't be welded together, but because we couldn't get parts for it. So a trade-in on a 20-year-old truck that has motor issues and the steering welded. I mean, we might get more than we get in an auction. I don't know, but we didn't go that route when we were doing this.
So you believe it'll get more at an auction than it would if we traded in?
I don't really have a clue. They generally don't give you a whole lot when you trade it in because we're dealing with like a company that is just selling fleet vehicles. They don't have the capability of doing anything with it. They're going to take it on a trade and just sell it in an auction too, probably. But I honestly don't know. I got no number on what they would have given us.
Any other questions? Okay, so we'll be looking for a motion to authorize the disposal of vehicle number B5.
I'll make a motion to approve the D14 for the disposal of vehicle number, the
B5.
number listed. Oh, B5, okay.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Item number 15.
Hey, before we start, do you mind if I ask a question
Go ahead.
for Jason, please? I noticed that we always seem to carry a lot of used vehicles, especially a lot of used, unused, garbage trucks. Are they all worth saving for parts, or could some of those be auctioned off also and got rid of?
They're all going to auction. We're kind of going back, and we had some more vehicles come online, so we're just trying to get all of them go at once. And Andy and I are working on that, try to get that going.
Okay, good. Thank you. Sorry, Mayor.
All right, item number 15 is to be the Utilities Angel Fund. Ms. Kelly.
Yes, thank you. We had talked at the November 18th council meeting about setting up a utilities angel fund. I did some research. You can see the means-based programs listed here on the staff report. And by means-based, it usually is financial assistance based on information such as a household's yearly income, their family size, if they have any special needs. If you look at the very first one listed, Florida Low Income Home Energy Assistance Program, they talk about applicants must be Florida residents with a household income at or below 60% of the state median income. So the state median income in Florida per household is $72,200. 60% would be $43,320. So that type of family would be means tested. I did look at the census data for Avon Park. The median household income is listed as $36,845. So practically the whole city's household income is within this means standard. If you go by those numbers, if you look at the 150% of the federal poverty level, it is based on the size of the household. So if you're a single family, a single person in a residence, it would be 15,650 is the poverty level. 150% of that would be 23,475 would put them in the means testing. And let's just go to a family of four. The poverty level would be 32,150. 150% of that would be 48,225. There are other programs. I don't have them listed here, but an alternative to a means-based model where you're checking every single applicant that comes to the city is to work with a nonprofit such as Habitat for Humanity or Heartland Coalition for the Homeless. They are working more closely with this population that might have a requirement for a utility angel fund. So that's always an option. And really it's up to you, however you want to set the parameters for this program or not at all. We're happy to take those and put a policy together for future consideration.
So just so we're clear, how would the funds to pay these bills be generated?
They would be donations from current utility users in the city. So if you pay your bill online, let's say your bill's $72.15, you could click a button to round it up to $73, and then that 85 cents would go to the utility fund. You like how I did that off the top of my head?
Well done.
How about those that are automatic paid? When would you have an option to do that?
When you set it up automatically, I'm sure.
I don't know the answer to that. If maybe doesn't seem to think
I
it
don't
could.
I don't know if it could or not. I'd have to check with them and find out.
Okay.
So, Dr. Kelly, that would be the same thing if a person came in and paid for cash? Or that's just.
Yeah,
if you go online?
absolutely.
No matter
Yeah.
how they pay,
Correct.
they can round it up.
Yeah, or they could just say, here's $5. They could donate whatever they wanted.
Okay. There's no minimum.
No,
Okay.
And the cost for this module is $50 a month.
correct.
So the real question is, how much money would we actually generate through this program? I guess I think that would probably be hard to guess.
It is hard. Do we have, how many utility accounts do we have?
Just over 7,000.
Okay.
But is it a money-making thing for us? It's the money-making for to help the residents.
Right. No, it's no. I'm saying that it's going to cost the city $600 a year. So unless we're generating more than $600 a year, it would be more advantageous for us to just donate $600 a year. That's what I'm getting at. So, I don't know if this is going to be $5,000 a year, if it's going to be 50,000, or if it's going to be $5. I guess we don't really know. So,
Well, I would have liked to have had those numbers when we increased our water bill rate for sure.
what are you saying? Betty?
That I wish we would have had Miss Kelly's the average income for the city, the residents. That's really low. What did you say it was? The average is 31.
The household
Yeah, the household.
median income is 36,845. I appreciate what you're saying, but I think regardless of what people make, there's still a certain cost associated with having
There
to
is.
run those utilities. And
Right.
yeah,
And I understand that and I agree, but if it costs the city a little bit extra because we did just increase the water bills, isn't that gonna absorb some of the cost too? If it's what, $50 a month to run it? Whenever
For the
we could-
module, yep.
for the
Yeah.
module, yes.
When we could help a resident in need.
Well, I think that's what the mayor is asking, if we know how much, let's say we're collecting $1,000 and it offsets. I mean, I wouldn't recommend paying the $600 out of the
Right.
gifts that are given. But if we can't raise $600 that it would cost the city, it would be better for us just to donate the $600 to
Right.
residents. So I think without knowing how much we would potentially have in the utility angel fund,
Sure.
that's a tough question to answer.
So it's probably going to be just on a trial basis. We have to give it a year and see what happens. If it's not utilized despite your best efforts, then we'll look at other options.
Let me ask you this too, if you don't mind. So a resident needs this angel fund, they need to dip into it. How many times a year are they allowed to do that? I mean, what's the parameter for that?
That's what you would decide.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we're here to discuss. So you tell me what you want to do and we'll put it in a policy. I'm just giving you options
Okay.
of how to look at it.
Dr. Kelly, I think it's a great idea. It'll help. It shows that this council got a little bit of humility, something, okay? So let me make sure I'm understanding it right. It's gonna cost the city $600 a year. The city really don't want to come out of their pocket to pay that $600. So you're saying, if we can get, no, we're gonna actually come out of our pocket and pay.
Oh,
the
yeah,
600
we would
every
pay
year.
that.
The ceiling is, you asking the council to do that?
Correct.
Okay. And so, and a person just put in their application when they feel as though they meet the criteria, whatever, and the application gets approved if they meet the criteria. And so we would do this every year. But it was your idea. You came up with it. I'm not sure where you got it from, but you came up with it. So in order for you to come up with it, what did you estimate that we would probably make in a year? I mean, usually when somebody come up with an idea, they usually got a figure in their head that how much is possible that we can make.
Well, I look at it this way. If we have 7,000 customers and they each give 10 cents a month, that's $700 a month that we could potentially help people with. I don't feel like 10 cents is going to break anyone.
And a lot of people don't mind rounding up.
Right.
Yeah. You can. You know.
Conversely, you might get a large donor that wants to give 10 grand to the system.
Exactly.
You have no idea.
So businesses and organizations can donate as well?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're a utility customer.
Okay, now, come on, Duke Energy, where you at?
That's for sure.
So if anybody needs the utility fund, it's just supposed to go towards their water bill, though. We're using the word utility, but we're making it just the water bill.
Water, sewer, trash, I would assume.
Things that we're
But
in charge
not-
of.
Right, exactly, not electricity.
Okay. Because most of the programs that I had looked at, because it was actually a federal program
There
for
is.
quite a while, but some resources said it wasn't funded anymore. Some said it was funded. So I'm not really sure if it's still a thing or not, but they usually, just to give y'all an idea of what they did, they would do up to a one-time gift of up to $750 that paid any past due balances plus any reconnection fees. And then they base theirs on the 60% or the 150% of the poverty level. And then the only other requirement is they made them prove that they were actually, the applicant was actually the one responsible for the utility bills. So like if you rented somewhere, you know, maybe you wouldn't be responsible for the actual water bill. But I saw a lot of programs that had that same exact criteria. And as far as, I think, I mean, based on my experience, when someone has an issue paying their water bill, I think they usually would reach out to the city first. So I feel like we should be the ones to kind of receive those applications and make that decision versus going to a third party and having to direct everybody that calls to that third party. I know when they have an electricity issue, they call Duke, for whatever utility that they need assistance with. That's just the research I've found.
And I think Duke actually passes you on to another place too. I don't think they help. I think they pass you on. They give you a list of non-for-profit agencies that can help in our area.
I think they do payment plans for some. I don't know what all of the specifics are for it, but I think they do offer payment plans, which I don't know if the city does that or not. We do that, Melody? Okay.
No,
So,
city don't do that. City's-
Melody said that we do offer payment plans.
The church service center definitely helps people out all the time.
Right.
And that's the group of all the churches. So
Sure.
that's probably one of the first places most people go to, I would imagine.
Some utilities keep a list of charities that actually, so they can just give them a list or email them a list or whatever. Too.
Okay. So try it for a year and see what happens. It's like,
Sure.
is that where we're at?
Yeah, yes. Would you like to limit the number of times an application can be put forward by?
Yes,
Yeah, I don't think we should allow it more than once a year.
I don't either, because one person could eat
Sure.
up all the fund every month, where somebody else who needed 3 months later, there's no funds available. So
Sure.
I would do it greater than once a year, just based on some of the other programs that the county offers.
Well, do you have a different suggestion?
Well, I mean, if we give each person $750 and say they're back 4 months, so basically we give them $750 to pay almost half of their year's water bill every year. I don't really think that's fair to all the citizens. I don't think we're going to have enough money, in other words, to service as many people as we need to service if we're giving them $750 a year.
We don't have to do $750.
I say $750 is too much. I say 3 months. 3 months, the max we pay you 3 months if you got behind 3 months. Or 2 months.
I think what's the average water bill, just give or take,
About
maybe
50,
$60, $70. So then you do,
About $170, $175 a month. I mean, average water bill.
yeah.
All right, we'll have to keep the comments down up in the crowd. If you want to make a comment, we'll have to get you up to the microphone.
Yeah, I say if we do 3 months for
$200.
for one applicant, that's the max we would do in that 1 year span. That means you're giving other applicants the opportunity to enjoy some of the fun as well.
yeah, I like that idea.
You don't think we should go past a year? Because if we do 3 months, that's like paying 25% of their water bill every year. I feel like we got quite a few applicants that would be
Sure.
looking for
So
assistance.
keep in mind, this is meant to be a 1 year trial.
Right.
Right.
So if it's not utilized in the next year, then there's going to be major changes made. If one person's trying to do it more than once a year, there'll be changes made. So
We can track that. I would suggest maybe thinking about a lifetime cap per applicant. So they don't come and have 25% of their bills paid every year. That's a concern for their council.
okay.
Well, my thing is, if most of the city is below poverty, I don't think we should spread it out. I mean, if most of the city is in poverty, majority or whatever percentage you gave, then if people know that they can come and do this, they're gonna use it. And so therefore, when you're talking about giving them a big lump sum, to me, you're not letting all the applicants or the ones that want to utilize, you're not allowing them to be able to utilize it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Spread it out and let as many people utilize it as they
So what
could.
you saying, once a month?
No, I'm saying less. In other
Less.
words, like, I mean,
She's saying less than once a year.
I'm saying less than once a year just because we have more, especially until we see if we get a huge donor and there's a ton of money in the account, then that's one thing we could, make it.
So what you saying? You're trying to say once every 2 years, every 3 years?
Well, I mean, even if we did like, so if we used the, say $150,
Mhm.
because y'all said like 175, whatever.
Mhm.
Most of the other programs did 750 lifetime. So if you did 150, that's like they could apply for it 5 times
Okay.
with no more frequency than once annually. So that
Mhm.
means you're basically giving them 5 years and you're paying, 3 of the water bills unless they have an exorbitant water bill, before their time runs out.
Okay. So to recap, the total that you're talking about donating is,
Maybe if we did a lifetime cap of 750.
Okay.
But then we can use your guys' total, say no more than 150 annually, because that's about 3 months worth of water bills.
Mhm.
But then a lifetime cap of 750.
I like that.
okay.
And then we also just need to decide if we're doing the 150% of the federal poverty level or the 60% of the annual median income. Which I think the federal poverty level, the 150%, I think matches or more aligns with ours personally. That's my thoughts.
It does. So a 3-person household would be 39,975 at 150%. So that would be a lot closer to what
Right.
the median household income.
Is anyone opposed to the 150%?
No.
Okay.
And then the only other stipulation is that we verify that the applicant is actually responsible for making the utility payments.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
And I also have one side question. What actually happens with our deposits that some people may have their deposits in there for 20 years? Are we putting those in separate accounts, interest bearing, or we just put it in a general fund and?
No, they go into a separate account. They're in a non-interest bearing account. And the deposits stay on the account until you close the account. It's not refunded after 2 years for, good payment. It stays on the account.
Is it true that if it's a deposit and we collect interest on it, that we would have to then
Yes,
that person
it's a nightmare because you would have
Right.
to do
You
it
have to
almost daily. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It's not worth the money by the time you get to spend staff time trying to figure it out.
Gotcha. Okay.
So for the entire time of your residence, we keep that money.
We don't collect it.
That's in the code.
What's that?
It's in code, she said.
Oh, it's
in
in
the
the code.
code.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
So Brittany, to piggyback on what you said, so I can have a better understanding. We have to make sure that the applicant is the one that responsible for the bill.
Right.
So if the applicant moves out, can the landlord come in
So like if
and
they,
put
you're
in
saying
an
if they
application
left,
because of the rental left a bill behind? Is that what we saying?
I would say no. I would think they needed to pay for that out of the rent that they collected.
Well, I don't think it's likely that they're going to meet the income.
Yeah, that's
threshold.
true. The landlords.
Right.
So it might disqualify them anyway.
Right.
I would say it has to be their primary their residence.
And if they do meet the income threshold, then what's the difference?
That's true. I'm quite sure there are some landlords that just got one property that probably still meets the threshold.
Well, then they'll need it as much as anybody else
So we're saying that the landlord is entitled to it as well.
if they meet the threshold. Yeah. I don't see why not.
I agree with all of them. I think it's a great idea.
Anything else to add?
On
Okay.
a trial basis, it's great.
Sure. Do you guys, are you going to put something together formal, or do you want us to just approve it based off what we discussed?
Yeah, I'll bring an actual policy back
Okay.
for you to adopt or
Okay.
consider, not adopt, consider.
Anything else to add to that, or any other
Yeah.
questions?
What is the trial-based length we're putting on?
I think a year.
I think a year's probably good.
I think people are either going to take notice or they're not within a year. And we can also track and see what the giving is per month. I mean,
Right.
if it's steadily ramping, then you know that this is going to become something much bigger in the future. So,
So the $50 we can cancel at any time. The module, yes.
okay. Anything else?
What about if these people also qualify for facade grant? We're gonna give them this to also?
I don't see why not.
We gonna do what?
It's totally separate.
We gonna do what?
I just said if people get a facade grant also, we're gonna also give them availability for this also.
Can they get both, in other words, is
Yeah.
what Jim's saying.
Yeah, why not? They meet the guidelines, right?
Sure. It's also two separate boards. So, all right. If there's nothing else to add, we will move on. Staff, any questions for council? Got everything? Perfect. All right. Item number 16, regional boards and committee assignments. This came up at our last meeting. However, we did not have a full council. So now that we do, we can reassign if there's any changes. So you have a list there in front of you.
I'd like to say something.
Go ahead.
As you can tell, I have a lot more assignments than everybody else. And
Looks like the perfect amount, Jim.
it looks like, I think I have one too many.
Okay.
And preferably one that I have to travel distance to, so I will be glad to keep everything except for the Heartland Regular Transportation Planning Supporting Operation.
HRTPO, McCure, you.
No. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. And I'll tell you why, because I work full time and a lot of the times the meetings are at 10 o'clock during the week and I absolutely can't make it.
Mhm.
So it would be a waste because I'd never be able to attend.
That's 10 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yes.
Where's
Usually.
this location at, Jim?
Like Placid,
Well, they're not always in Lake Placid. A lot of times they're
everyone I've known as.
How
Time they were?
often are they?
they're every quarter, every quarter,
Quarter.
4 times.
Jim, I would have rather you gave up another one instead of that one.
I'm glad that you think so, but I've had enough. I'd rather you take that position.
Sure.
I think you're
Yeah. So, I mean, the board, the actions of the board are quite consequential. They just tend to be very, very far in the future. So you don't get to see much of what you're actually discussing take place unless you've been there for many years. Sometimes you're discussing things that are, 50-year plan. But certainly the HRTPO, what they do, it's very important. I mean, it dictates a lot of how DOT money is spent in the county and how the city relates to it. There's going to be a lot of things that pop up over the next couple of decades with public transportation, with some of our different traffic lights and things. So if anyone's interested in how traffic flows or how our roads are constructed or what new roads are coming, that's who should take the board. I sat on it for a number of years before me. I think Terry Heston was on there for a long time. Jim's been there for a while. I don't know how many you've been to as your alternate status, but they can get a little dry. I'll give it to you.
They have refreshments.
That's a plus. I'm not trying to pull away from Jim's request, but why am I the only alternate on here? Why don't we have other alternates in here? Just out of curiosity.
I think that's less about you and more about everyone
Probably
else.
the
right?
only one that requires one.
Probably.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think it does speak to the importance of the board. There should be. If nobody else can do it, then I will do it again. Going once, going twice.
You got it.
Okay,
So do
great.
you want to remove yourself as the alternate as well? Or you want to be the alternate?
I'll be the alternate, but
As long as you never have to actually.
if something were to happen and
We got one coming up on the 29th, so if you're free that day.
dang, I got a meeting today. I'll stay as an alternate. I can't promise that I'll make the meeting, but I will stay as the alternate.
Okay.
Just because of my full-time status at my job.
Any other comments on this board position?
The alternate on the planning and zoning, if we need an alternate.
Okay,
I used to serve on that before, so.
Any issue with having alternates on the planning and zoning board? Yeah, okay.
So are we filling that? Are we filling the alternates tonight? Madam Mayor?
If you want to volunteer as an alternate, God bless you.
I'd like to be an alternate on the CRA and I'd like to be an alternate on the Housing Authority.
Okay. All right. Is staff taking note of these changes? Okay, perfect. All right. Any other boards that anyone wishes to get off of or get onto?
You know, can I ask Ms. Taylor about the agricultural and labor program?
Yes, ma'am, you would love it.
When are the meetings for those? Are they after hours?
Actually, we meet on the weekend and it's usually out of town. Sometimes it's Friday, Saturday and Sunday. They pay for the hotel, they feed you, you'll love it. I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Okay, well, I'll alternate with that one if you can't make it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. On the RPAC, did we not? Is Jason not on RPAC now?
But they are going through a reorganization. They're changing that up into zones instead of city. So I think we share with South Florida College, but they're still trying to iron out the details.
So I thought
I was an alternate, yes.
I thought we removed me and put.
It's me and Danielle Phillips.
Right.
I'm not trying to steal your thunder there.
Please go ahead. You do you, buddy.
Will do.
Okay. All right. If there's no other changes. Seeing none. Anyone care to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve changes that were discussed.
So move.
We have a
Second.
motion and a second. Last call for questions. Seeing none, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes,
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. Item number 17. Regular updates from city manager. And then we will do signups.
Yes, thank you. So Culver's is going to have their grand opening February 3rd at 10 a.m.
Yes, ma'am.
If you're one of the first 100 guests inside,
February 1st.
you
That's February
receive a
1st.
fresh frozen custard for a year.
It's different. It's different.
A year.
With
I
house
know.
the first.
It's amazing.
If you're what number now?
February 3rd. Oh, the first 100 guests.
Okay.
And then I'm going to ask Jason Atkinson to give an update on the pickleball courts.
Gotcha.
All right, so I went to Cool and Cobb and I took a proposed, let's say a master plan, but a redesign based off of what was in our meeting this past year, and went over the pickleball courts, a splash pad, but also put in design for our larger scale items that we're looking at. But they're putting Cool and Cobb's putting together a conceptual plan, but they're also going to be submitting a proposal over to us to put that plan together. But they're in that process, and hopefully everything moves along. We're going to end up needing to get a GC for the installation of that structure.
Okay. Chris, do you want to jump in on that, or you had signed up to speak about? Okay.
Chris Downey, 103 West Pleasant. And Jason, thank you for that. So I wanted to start off with thank you to the council, specifically thank you to Shelley for the question about the shuffleboard roof. And I know we were waiting on the deductible. It all came together. I'd like to thank Melody and that whole left side there and the whole front there. While I was in my hospital bed, I was getting messages saying we're working on it. So my members are happy, all 115 of them, Mayor. So that doesn't happen very often, but we were thinking a year, we were thinking 6 months. We weren't sure what to think. So appreciate that. I only hope that we can move as quickly on this next initiative as we can. I think the plans are pretty solid from what we've all talked about for the last year. And I think Jason did a pretty good job with the proposal going to Cool and Cobb. So I think it's going to be something we can hold and something we can look at and something that's alive. So again, not too often you get a positive statement from member of this community, but thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Did we also check for the mold, like I had mentioned last week?
Yeah, so I think there was no mold on the outside and anything on the inside was not attributed to the storm. We do have the kitchen that's in disrepair. And Randy saw it, so we're not using it. And we're hoping to get some action on that once we get done with the outside. But there was no, most of that was all in outside damage from the Milton storms. And I really appreciate Jason above all. When I walked in there, I had tears in my eyes because everything was cleaned up. I mean, every single court had 2 feet of something on it. So the fact that we were able to overcome that, and we're also concerned with the Blueberry Festival coming and all that jazz. So don't want to take any more time, but Shelley, heart to heart, I really appreciate you bringing it up. I didn't want to make it a public comment. It would have felt selfish. So I'm really glad we handled it the way we handled it. So I'm looking forward to the next steps. I think the plans that Jason have, I did have a quick glimpse at them being on the CRA, just took a look at them. And I think it's exactly what we all talked about with a couple added items. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
Anything else in the city manager update?
No, thank you.
All right, we've got 2 signups. Miss Becky Mum, if you'll please come up to the podium, give your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Becky Mum. My address is 445 Southeast Sneed Circle, Avon Park.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
I'm here representing myself and my husband, Joseph Mum, for our home, a resident here in Avon Park. And as well, I think when I express my concerns, I think I may also be speaking of concerns that other Avon Park residents may have. And I would like to address the rate of increase that has been passed already, that was implemented for November 1st, 2024. And as I understand, as the sewer rate was $28 in the past, and it was for unlimited water use. And the new rate was lowered to $25.50. But now it is only for the first 3,000 gallons used. And then there's a $6.50 charge for each additional 1,000 gallons used. And this increase has placed a great burden, I know, on a lot of people that I know and in our area where I live. And I'm sure as others spoke last week, 2 weeks ago, there's also a concern and a burden on them. Mm-hmm. And after reviewing the demographics and data about Avon, the city of Avon Park, and as was stated, the median annual household income, and this was based on 2023, was $36,845. $36,845. The poverty rate, the average poverty rate for Highlands County is 15.4%. That was the 2023 rate. The 2023 rate for Avon Park, I saw was 23%, but yet in 2020, I noticed that it was 33%. Do you have that? Do you know what the current poverty rate is offhand? I'll look at this while
Okay.
you continue.
All right, well, I'll continue. So my point I was making is that Avon Park has a higher poverty rate than the average city in Highlands County. And when the city council approved the increased rate for the sewer rates, I'm wondering if they compared the percent of increase in what that total rate would be if it was compared to other like cities to Avon Park. I would have hoped that would be taken into consideration regarding, the demographics, population, annual income, and et cetera, everything that's included.
Yes, so we had a study that was commissioned by the Florida Rural Water Association, and they recommended based on how much it costs us to process, the sewer rates, and they gave us a range of an increase, and what was actually adopted was on the very lower end of that range.
Okay, thank you. So I understand that the expenses have increased regarding wastewater treatment, the equipment, repairs required, replacement, wastewater plant upgrades. But as I reviewed the documents from the 2024-2025 budget presentation from August 26, 2024, and that would be of the general fund budget summary, that the city of Avon Park has already received grants and forgivable loans of $2.75 million. $700,000 of that was for the SRF water plant upgrades, and $2.52 million was for the Lake Tulane lift station replacement project. And again, that was what I read on that document was grants and forgivable loans. But then I also saw that there will be applying, the city of Avon Park will be applying for an additional $12.9 million in additional grants. A grant for $11.5 million for the wastewater treatment plant repairs and additional treatment capabilities. And then also another grant that was stated that they will be applying for is a $1.4 million grant for wastewater plant upgrades, the FLDEP water quality grant with the WP upgrades. So my concern is, it appears there is a potential for an additional $15.65 million for water and sewer for Avon Park. So therefore, I'm very concerned that this increase in this rate that was implemented November 1st, 2024 is still placing a burden. So why is it at such a high rate when there's the potential for an additional $15.65 million coming in for the water and sewer utilities? So I would like to appeal to the Avon Park City Council to please consider a review of that rate again and to the possibility of amending that rate of increase for the Avon Park sewer charges of all Avon Park residents. Just as the last meeting, I identified that our bill for the charges for our October water use was at the new rate, and they did state, the office did state that they would make that correction. I hope that that will occur for every
That's 5
single
minutes.
resident in Avon Park. Thank you.
I did find that percentage you were looking for, persons in poverty, is listed at 23%. And I appreciate your comments. I just want to point out to the audience and to the council that we are working on building a completely new water treatment plant, and they cost between $40 and $50 million. So we're still way far under what we need to build that.
Do you have a comment, Jerry?
I do have a comment, as you stated about the poverty rate. If those in that class, if they use less water, then they'll be paying less for that bill than they were the previous rate. So actually the poverty people, if they use less water and sewer, they'll actually get a lower rate than they were getting the year before. So it benefits that lower rate, lower income people more than anybody else.
I'll just point out that having been in the utility business prior to becoming an attorney, that you need to understand that if these rates are that are established by the Florida Rural Water Association, where, as she said, we're like in a range, and the council took the low range. And it's just to basically recover what the expenses are. If you don't recover what the expenses are, and those are based on numbers that they know now, not going into the future, because they're going to go higher each year, as everybody understands. And if you don't recover the money, then what will have to happen is the city will have to use funds, that a general fund, in order to tax money, basically, to pay the difference. And if that happens, and people don't even get water and sewer from the city, we'll have to actually subsidize people to do. And so that's truly unfair as well. So I just want to point that out. Sorry.
All right. We have one more sign up. Miss Deborah Doris. Davis, sorry about that.
To the council, my name is Deborah Davis. My address is 706 West Winifred Street.
Yes, ma'am.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, are we supposed to live in our baths? If you got a home that has more than 4 or 5 people in it, so but they do take a bath once a week. I'm just trying to figure out, are you all really thinking logically? I know you're talking about a city here, but you have a city that every time you turn around, a building is closing. A business is gone. So if you got that going on, where the people gonna work at? And if you're living in a poverty-stricken area, which, like I said, I agree with the lady that just left from here. When I went online, it talked about Avon Park by itself, and it is a poverty-stricken city. It's not flourishing. So what do you think about the people here? Then I got a new bill because I came the last time with my former bill that was $239. The water went from 77, but then last time the sewage went to 121, and I'm trying to figure how when I don't water anymore. Then come to find out that my meter had been broken for some months. And now I get the new bill that I went and had published today. It's $168. But on the top, it says current red 0. Previous red 0. Then it has consumption 14. How do you get a consumption of 14 when everything else is 0? Could you help me with that one?
Any clarification as to how the bills break down?
So your meter was replaced, so your beginning balance will be 0. But if they go out and hand read the meter, they'll get the read.
So they physically read it, not with the electronic system.
They replaced the meter. There was an issue with the meter, so they replaced the meter. So we're going to see what it is coming up. Last time we spoke was 2 weeks ago. So we'll let the month go by. We'll see where it's at. That should be hopefully like the average consumption, but they'll take a look at it and factor that in and make any adjustments as needed. I mean, a normal household should not be using 14,000 gallons of water. No.
It was 19.
So it's not, you shouldn't. So hopefully everything works out with the new meter,
But it'll be another couple weeks before she gets an actual.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
So my question is, do I continue to pay these bills that you're coming up with that I have now, and nobody knows really what they really were or is? What do I do?
Sure. So whenever you want to look
Ma'am,
back.
if you could call me, I'll give you my phone number. You can call me and I'll tell you how much you can pay until we get it adjusted.
Right. But isn't it true that after a number of months, you would go back and you would look at the actual usage since the meter's been replaced over, let's say 3 months, and then you would prorate that?
That's exactly right. We go back 3 months.
Okay.
Yep.
So they'll take the new meter readings over the next few months, and then whatever that average is, then they'll go back and apply it to the previous months. If there was an error.
But of course, you're not going to find an error.
You can look at the usage. I mean,
I'm just saying.
It isn't like you can make it up if that's what you're implying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, because I'm saying they was making a bill and you couldn't read a meter, so I'm trying to figure out,
Sure.
where do we go now?
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. Anything else for the good of the city?
Mayor, I got a question for Jason. Jason, can you give me an update on Memorial?
Memorial, it's I believe it's in February. They had issues with CSX. So with the CSX that was going on, they had to push that back because they couldn't just like jump in between. So this is likely end of February. It would have probably been taking place right now had that not been an issue. The railroad,
on
the
Main
railroad.
Street
Yes.
or on Memorial?
No, the railroad, the railroad,
Uh-huh.
the repair that they're doing.
On
It's not just on Main Street, ma'am. They're doing a whole bunch of crossings from the north all the way through Avon Park.
Okay. Yeah.
So they didn't want to have CSX tear up what they just laid down. So they're going to go after CSX.
Okay. And we're, I'm sorry, and we're estimating like the end of this month. Oh, February. Okay,
End of February is what they said.
in February.
We lost a young child at the Bell Street CSX opening. Have they put up a safety arm yet for that? They have?
They installed, I don't know if the arm's in place, but the base and everything is set up. That was all the construction that they were doing, a lot of the construction out there. So that's what they were installing that.
So the arm still isn't there, but just the
I'm
base.
trying to recall. I feel like the base is there and it's set up. I have to verify and get back.
Okay.
Anything else for the good of the city?
We did fix a bunch of sidewalk there that they broke up while they were doing that. So
They broke them or,
no, they broke them.
and so are they going to replace them or that's?
We're in that process.
Okay.
All right. Anything else for the good of the city? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Seeing no opposition, we are adjourned.